Across the world, the rules of marriage are changing. But when the rules change, can there even be rules at all? Could this now marry this? It seems possible. And whatever happened to straight marriage? Is it even legal anymore? Probably not. And are we doing enough as a society? In the beginning, when God created the earth, and the stars, and the galaxies, and the superclusters in which they reside, and in his infinite wisdom filled the vast majority of it with absolutely nothing, there were two human beings, Adam and Eve, and a snake. Such was the way God envisaged humanity, and so too was it the way he envisaged marriage, the union between one man and one woman, and one snake. And so for millennia this is how marriage was, and it was the bedrock upon which society functioned. The woman would have the children and keep the home, while the man would win the bread in one of the many and varied competitions for which bread was a prize. And of course the snake would encourage the man and his wife to eat from a nearby tree, which would inspire in them a desire to copulate with one another. Children produced in this manner would receive the right balance of influences that can only be provided by having both a mother and a father, and a snake. But society is changing.
Just over here?
I spoke to an advocate of traditional marriage.
What is this for again?
Oh, this is for the news.
I mean, traditional marriage, as we know it, has been going just over 6,000 years. The entireness of human history. And all of a sudden we think we know better. We know what we're doing, we invite this perversion into our lives and our kids.
Graham says that when he was growing up in the 1960s, there were no gays. Not even one. By the 1970s, there were several gays, and as they began to enter the public awareness, they also began to reproduce. By the 1980s, there were tens of them, only a few of which were said to reside in New Zealand. But in 1986, we decriminalised homosexuality. This exponentially increased the number of gays in New Zealand. Straight men and women were allowed to have gay children, and those gay children would grow up to endorse and vote for at least one politician whose genitals were uncertain. Many traditional New Zealanders were confused, but not sexually. And it didn't end there. In 2004, civil unions were legalised. Much as they had in 1986, the religious community warned of the likely repercussions of such an offence to the laws of nature. There was nothing civil, they argued, about one man putting his hoo-ha in another man's up-de-doo. If civil unions were allowed to stand, they said, there would be drought and famine. What would you say to those who suggest that actually there isn't any drought or famine, that in New Zealand at least, things are largely okay?
Yes, but there has been drought and famine in Africa and the subcontinent and other places. So what you and a lot of people don't seem to understand is we don't think gay people are evil.
Oh, no, absolutely. All you're saying is that they're just sex criminals.
Some of them.
When notorious sex criminal Louisa Wall successfully passed the gay marriage bill in 2013, many brave conservatives stood up to warn our nation of its impending doom.
It was pouring with rain. We have the most enormous big gay rainbow across my electorate.
When God punished the world with Noah's flood, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. And shortly after gay marriage was passed by our nation's parliament, it rained in the Coromandel for 40 minutes. Indeed, Brian Tamaki's wooden ark may have been unnecessary, but things certainly did get wet, and it was just the beginning. Wholesome family conservatives such as Colin Craig warned that inevitably, if marriage was allowed to be between one man and one man, or one woman and one woman, or one man and one woman who's got the fiddly bits of a man, then what reason would there be for us to deny marriage between one man and one table, or one table and one goldfish, or 4 goldfish, 2 men and a table? The answer was obviously nothing. In late 2014, a man from Welsford married a cockatoo, which was legal as the cockatoo was able to successfully repeat the vows.
And we're living in a dangerous time now when people are simply making things up.
So you're saying that the best marriage The ideal family unit is one man,
One man
one woman,
and one woman.
and one snake.
Yeah, I think you're a little bit obsessed about the snake. You don't need the snake.
So would you say that instead of one man marrying another man, that we should stick to what has always worked, traditional marriage, which is when one man marries a woman. They live in a single house, they have 2 kids, they have a nice quarter-acre section, they incur a lot of debt because they weren't ready to have kids. The man loses his job and begins drinking. The woman can't handle the man's drinking. The man becomes violent at times. His kid ends up in a gang. The man divorces the woman, who is left with nothing, and the man marries another woman and they have kids. Then the woman finds out that the new woman is her ex's current girlfriend, not the ex we were just talking about, but the previous ex. So the new woman is married to the woman's most recent ex, but she's also having a fling with the woman's previous ex. So the woman begins to drink, and the man finds out about the new woman's affair with the woman's previous ex. And he begins drinking again, and he gets violent and hits the new woman, and he ends up in court. And the kids, the first set of kids, are made fun of at school because their dad's going to prison. And the second set of kids are diagnosed with being conjoined twins.
What is this for again?
Oh, this is for the new